Okay, this is a quick video on changing your E46 rear quarter window lower trims. These are only on the coupe models, and they tend to get pretty haggard after a few years, especially in the Australian sun. I've changed my driver's side one already and that went pretty good, so I'm going to do a video on changing the passenger side. Right, what you're going to need to get it done is some wax and grease remover. That'll help to clean the surface. Once you've removed all the old double-sided tape from the trims, you're going to want some masking tape, 1 or 2 inch, brand new cutting blades, sharp scrapers to scrape off the old double-sided tape from the trims, some plastic trim removal tools, and maybe just a small flathead screwdriver. These are the trims here, or one of them. As you can see, they come from factory with the double-sided tape already adhered to one side. You'll also want a can of adhesive remover. You can get that from Bunnings. It's called Goof Off, and that will assist with removing all the old double-sided tape from your paint once you've got the old trim removed. First thing you probably want to check before you start this job is that on the end of the trim here there's a little rivet, plastic rivet clip, which goes there and holds the trim in place, or at least the rubber seal. You're going to want to make sure that's there, because if you don't have one, they don't come with the trims, and you might want to order one of those too. First thing you want to do is remove the little plastic clip, which is right here at the end of the trim. I've already pried mine out, just have to be careful. Disconnect where the window mounts to the actuator. To do that, you just need to stick your screwdriver in the gap there and pry that cap off, and then the ball joint will separate. Next, you want to grab some tape and mask off just below the trim. I've also got some old sheets that I've torn up, used as rags, and just taped them below to protect the paint when I start scraping away. Once the rear quarter window is disconnected, you're going to have it moving between open and closed, depending on how far along the seal you are. I tend to find it's good to have it closed when you start getting towards the end, because it can just get in the way. But you'll want to start on the corner here up the front with a plastic scraper and just try and pry your way along the edge here, just getting that initial bit of the seal and the tape off. Just being careful not to put too much force and damage your paint. As you can see here, I've got a nice start on the corner of the seal. It's starting to lift up. Once you get to there, you want to keep prying your way along, just along the edge with the plastic scraper. And once you've got most of the old residue, the edge of the seal out, you'll be able to use a razor blade and carefully cut following the angle of the body, and you should be able to cut your way along. If you go from forward to aft or the other way around, if you just keep going, you'll eventually work the seal off. I found that holding a bit of pressure on the seal, pulling it up and pushing the blade along, cuts the tape nicely, and you can feel when you get to the back of the seal. So if you get down and pry the seal up like this, you'll actually be able to see in and see the double-sided adhesive tape they've used, and you'll be able to cut through that relatively easily and just work your way along. It's surprising how well this tape sticks after being on the car for 15 years. Keep going and you'll get there eventually. Keep working your way back. Being careful not to pry into the glass of the quarter window. And after you've got right to the end and scraped as far as you can and use your razor blade to get all the tape, you'll see eventually it should come out. And there it is. So this is the tape which is inboard, and you primarily, that's what you'll be cutting through with your blade. The stuff on the outside here, you know, you'll be prying that up pretty easily, but in here, yeah, you'll want to cut that. It's probably easiest. Now you're going to want to get a sharp scraper and just scrape off the bulk of what's left of that remaining tape. Righto, once you've cleaned off the majority of all the crap from under there, you're going to want to get your adhesive remover. I've got a spray on one here, and you just want to run it all along. You can see how the adhesive remover really just melts away at what's left on the paint there. And you just want to work all the way along and get all the way up inside the gap, all the way till you get to the window seal itself. Right, you can spend as long as you want scraping under there, trying to get all that double-sided tape off. I probably spent 10 minutes just going along at it, and I've got most of it out from under there. Once you've done that, you can probably take the tape off and your rags, and I'm gonna go get a bucket of just car wash soap and just give it a good scrub, get all that adhesive remover off. Righto, now that the tape's off, bucket of soapy water and a brush, and you just want to go along and clean off all the dirt and adhesive remover that was left on there. It won't damage your paint, but you don't want to leave it on there for too long. Especially trying to get it off that inner window seal there. Don't let your adhesive remover stay on the rubber there for too long. The cleaner you get this surface, the better for when you go to adhere the new trim to the paint. All right, and then once you've given that a good soak, you can re-inspect the surface. If it's still wet and you can scratch off any more of the adhesive, go for it. The cleaner it is, you'll be able to see if there's any more tape or grime stuck on there. All right, once you've cleaned up your surface completely, I recommend just washing the part of the car that you may have got all dirty with the adhesive remover. I've just given that a quick wash and dried it off. And then I'm gonna hit this again with wax and grease remover. Get the surface nice and clean. And then the new trim, which I've got here, goes with this rubber tab. That's where that plastic rivet goes through, clip, just sits through there, goes on there. So to align this, I did the other side and I pushed it back as far as it would go into the kink, Hofmeister kink up the back there. And I pushed it in as far as it would go and then just worked it along and pushed it down as hard as I could. Once it was all set, I put the plastic clip back in and that'll pretty much do. So once you've taken off the tape, you can start sticking it down. I recommend inserting the rear first, probably just a couple millimeters underneath the Hofmeister Kenk trim, and then slotting it and folding it under the glass, because there's a bit of a lip on the seal there, and you just want to get that under the glass until the point where it's under here. You don't want to have to try and push it under there and have the tape stick to the paint. And once you've done that, if you push it back a little bit further and then try and get your clip hole here to align, and make sure that you've pushed it back far enough here that that's in line with the cutout for the door. That looks pretty good there. I haven't pushed it down yet. I could even push it back a little bit further if I wanted, and get that nice and perfect. Once you've got it in the position where you're happy and your plastic clip hole lines up, you can go along and just push really hard, get your fingers behind, push really hard in there and force it down onto the paint. Righto, and once you're happy with the position it's in, you can go and put your little plastic clip back through here. Go straight in and just push that in as hard as you can. It doesn't really do a whole lot, but it retains that seal just there, and that looks a lot better than it did before. Now you want to go and reconnect your window with a little ball joint to the actuator, and make sure that the window closes smoothly and sits against the seal nicely. Oh, and that's the finished product there. It looks pretty nice after it's been replaced. It's very noticeable when you look at the car, and the seal and the trims are all degraded. Yeah, last thing I'd do is just give the glass a clean, and any other fingerprints that I've left around from installing the trim. Thanks for watching.